time. So my apologies.
Okay, Professor. Thank you for joining today.
Delighted to be here.
And soon we'll be contacting you for the session. As
I
Richard
would love that. I would love that. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the webinar series.
Hello, everybody.
I would now hand over to Professor Richard, sir, for the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Rajesh, and thank you once again for your excellent organization and notifying everybody of the meeting. And I think we might have one or two new people here today, so you're very welcome. These are monthly sessions, and hopefully we're going to see you as regular participants here. And a couple of administrative things to say right today who feels they would like to deliver one of these sessions. It doesn't matter whether you're a highly experienced researcher or somebody relatively new who's done a small scale study, but we would welcome anybody who wants to give a session. You'll see if you follow these sessions that are always done in a very friendly atmosphere. They're not hypercritical. Everybody is willing to learn and wants to listen to what you're doing in your work. So please feel free to contact Rajesh and say to the program. The second thing to say is just to remind you that there is the plan for the September conference, which will be a joint venture held in Chennai, organized partly through Sankalp and the good offices of Dr. Sulata Ajit and through IIRN. So we're hoping that as many of you as possible will want to join that two-day conference. And I'm sure it'll be a great occasion. Final piece of kind of administration is to say that Dr. Rashmi Rangarajan is with us again today. Some of you recall she gave an excellent presentation a few months ago, and she has asked to have a few minutes at the end of this session to talk about the management of a writing group for members of IIRN and possibly one or two other people as well. So at the end of the session today, we will hand over. Thank you to her for all the work I know she's already put into preparation for this. Okay, so to today's session, I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Divya Dubey. Divya, who's currently in Kolkata, and has worked in schools in several parts of India, conducted very interesting research in the area of inclusive education, including a study in several locations, which he completed. I'm going to listen to Divya, and can I ask, as on previous sessions, can everybody now please make sure your microphone is muted and remains muted throughout the session? There will be opportunities to ask questions of Divya at the end, and the easiest way to do that during the question session is to raise your hand with the hand raise function on the computer. So without any more ado, I'm going to hand over to her presentation today. So thank you and welcome, Divya.
Thank you, Richard. Very good evening, everyone. Namaste, and from wherever you've joined, greetings of the day to you. And thank you, Dr. Richard. It has been an absolute privilege and pleasure knowing you and learning you over these last 9 years or so. And thank you, Dr. Rajesh, Jayanti ma'am, and the entire IIRN forum for giving me this opportunity to present my research and discuss what I feel is inclusion. Let me now start sharing my screen. Just give me a second. So I presently work as the head of department for special needs at a mainstream school in Kolkata. Slideshow. Yeah. All right. So this research was about the professional development needs of mainstream teachers to cater to the diverse learning needs of students. And the particular section of teachers that I was targeting was those who were teaching in the student years of age, which would be class 6 to 12. So teachers teaching upper primary and secondary level, right? So this is going to be the broad flow of my presentation today. Yeah. So in this, I know in this particular forum, everyone here is well aware of what inclusion is, but I'd still just like to present what I think is inclusion. I think inclusion means to accept, to embrace, to include all children, irrespective of their social or economic background, their abilities, their race, creed, caste, and all of that. I think it's about giving them equal opportunities and removing or eliminating any barriers that come in the way of their achieving their full potential. And what is the way of doing this? Well, inclusive education is thought to be a system which makes it possible. This is the definition, as you can see, given by UNESCO. In order to cater to the needs of the different learners, changes need to be made in the system, in the culture, in the communities and teaching pedagogies. Basically, giving up the kind of exclusionary practices that are adopted or that are presently there and adopting more inclusive practices. And how do we do this? Well, a major factor in making this happen is teacher training and preparation. Teacher education and training, as you all must be knowing, has also been identified in Sustainable Development Goals as well. The Education for All Global Monitoring Report goes on to say that all children must have teachers who are trained, motivated, who can identify and support weak learners and who are backed by a well-managed education system. The question is, where are these teachers? How do we find them? Do we have them already? Well, studies undertaken in India, unfortunately, they show that when it comes to inclusion, there are significant deficiencies in their understanding, their knowledge and skills in this area. And this has been, considered as an area that requires further research. And this is where my research comes in. So before we go any further, let me give you a little background of the study and context. So as Professor Richard has shared, I have, in the last 14 years, I have worked in different setups and cities across India. And I have myself experienced the situation firsthand. I have seen the challenges and struggles of teachers when it comes to catering to the diverse needs of learners of class. And, it's not that they don't want to do it or they're not interested or they just have negative attitudes or what is usually believed. It is also that there are their own challenges. They have their own challenges, they have their own limitations, and they have unlimited amount of expectations placed on them by different, additionally, I have realized that as a special educator, irrespective of how passionate I am, how committed I am, and how hard I work, ultimately, my scope of, my impact is limited. And it is the mainstream teachers who go into the classes day in and day out. They are the ones who need to be empowered, who need to be equipped. And, I think unless that is done, we really cannot hope to achieve inclusion in the right sense, right? You may place it, are we really including? Is that called inclusion? I don't think so. So that is why when I got an opportunity to do my PhD, and this was a topic which really appealed to me, and that is why I have chosen to pursue it. So yeah, so these were the aims and objectives. I wanted to investigate the professional development needs of teachers, as I've mentioned, to identify and develop ways of catering to these needs, and then to, to formulate or design a program or manual that would help in achieving these needs and students in a class to learn. So with these aims and objectives, I had these 4 distinct research questions. So before, I consider that teachers are important stakeholders in the process. So, people like us from outside, we can say a lot of things as a special needs coordinator. I may have my complaints, or, parents may have their things to say, management may have the things to say. But if we consider them as important stakeholders, I think it was important to understand what are their challenges challenges to understand what is it that they go through, or we are just expecting and expecting and expecting without actually understanding their point of view, right? So I wanted to know what were the challenges, then what were the professional development needs in relation to inclusion, what methods were currently being used in their organizations, because yes, most schools do have training throughout the year. They have different kind of training methodologies and systems. So was that enough? Was that helping them professional development needs? How effective were these methods? And then at the end, I wanted to come up with some kind of a framework, as I mentioned, which would kind of tell us that what should be the content, what should be the method or the pedagogy to be adopted, and what would be the features of such a professional development program if it were to be made, like a so-called an ideal professional development program. So right now, of course, I'm only going to discuss about the second research question, which is on the, so just for the benefit of those who are not from India. So in India, we have two kinds of schools, which are private and government or public schools. Under private, we again have private unaided and private aided schools. And I'm not going to go further. And in government or public schools, they are run by the central, state, or local government. So my research was limited to private unaided schools. Yeah. Also, we have various national and international boards in India. So the two national, the CPSC, and we also have the IB and IGCSE. And again, my research was focused, because it was a multi-location study, I wanted to do something because to have a parity, I chose schools which were following either one of the national boards, either CISE or CBSE. Location of studies, cities in which I did my research was Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Kolkata, where I am currently based. I followed a mixed methods and a multi-step approach. The population, as I mentioned, these are mainstream English medium inclusive schools, which either followed an ICSE or CBSE curriculum, and they were all based in urban areas. As you can see from the previous slide, these were the four major metropolitan cities of India. And the section of teachers, again, as I have mentioned, were those teaching in the upper primary and secondary section. So what did I do? So in the first stage and only one location, I chose an online survey for my first stage. So two schools from, each from Delhi and Kolkata, and three schools each from Mumbai and Bangalore consented to be a part of the research. So I sent out a survey link and the teachers filled it up, and I got about 280 responses. For the second stage, one school each from from the previous set of schools was chosen, because this had to be done. I had to travel and I had to do this. So there were focus group discussions. So in each school, I conducted 2 focus group discussions. So there were a total number of 8 focus groups, and the teachers who participated were around 51 teachers. And I also conducted semi-structured interviews with the different stakeholders. Now, who were these stakeholders? They were the heads of the schools, the section heads or the coordinators, as you may call them. They were the special needs coordinators of those schools and the counselors, right? So because, each of them, by virtue of standing of the same challenges. So if I ask a teacher, she would say from her point of view, but for all these stakeholders might have different perspectives, and I wanted to have an overall, a holistic view of the entire situation. What happened? 1 second. So after data analysis, I did coding and data analysis, and after all of that, I came up with these 5 distinct themes. Now, if you notice, 4 of them are actually exactly similar to my research questions. There was one additional schools, like what was happening currently and what suggestions they had. So today I'm just going to speak about theme 2, which is the professional development needs. Okay. So within this theme of professional development needs, there were 3 distinct sub-themes again. The first one was about the knowledge and skills related to diverse needs, curriculum related needs and personal attributes of teachers. Please be on mute. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So the first sub-theme, which was about the knowledge and skills related to diverse needs. So there was a question in my survey which said that asked about in which areas would you like to improve your skills? Now, I purposely did not use the term professional development needs because during my pilot, I realized that this was not a term which was understood very clearly. And because in the online survey, I wasn't there to, make a more generic kind of question. But the options were like lesson planning, inclusive teaching methods, use of technology in the classroom, knowledge about the kinds of difficulties and disabilities that are likely to be present in a mainstream classroom, strategies and techniques, classroom management techniques, preparing differentiated assessments and modifications that may be necessary. So as you can see from this bar graph, teachers actually wanted to learn a lot about, of course, knowledge, yes, but more about inclusive. Yeah. From the qualitative data, what I found was also pretty similar. Teachers did want to know about the kinds of disabilities, special needs, emotional and behavioral difficulties in the mainstream classroom. So they said that, unless we identify, unless we are able to find out what is there or, what certain children need, how do we actually go about doing something about it? Yeah. And sometimes it was difficult for them to differentiate between just adolescent behavior because the age group of students that these teachers were teaching were all adolescents. And that brought with it its own challenges. So there was a lot of peer pressure. There was, in general, that kind of, indiscipline, if that's what they called it. And, a lot of things which kind of get masked. And it was difficult for teachers sometimes to, especially this area of emotional and behavioral difficulties, to actually understand that this is a genuine need. And no, this is just, regular adolescent behavior. So, how much was acceptable? What was I supposed to do? And things like that. And regarding the other things, they said that, yes, I mean, they misinterpret because of the lack of awareness, lack of knowledge that, okay, this is such a thing. They often misread the signs. I'll just give you an example. So from what happened today in my school, so I often go through the notebooks of children to identify if there is some difficulties. And then, and our teachers bring it up. We have a huge elaborate process. But, it was not being brought out that, this child needs to be observed further because the child was otherwise so smart and the teacher couldn't imagine that, the child could have some difficulty. So somehow I happened to go through the notebooks and I said, this is very clear sign of, having this child having difficulty and we need to help her. So all the time this kept coming because not all disabilities are visible, right? Especially in case of learning disabilities, they are hidden. And they said, no, ma'am, but we thought she was so good at, she was so good, she just didn't want to write. So I asked, did you ever wonder why didn't she want to write? There must be some reason, right? One day a child may not want to write, but constantly if the child doesn't want to write, doesn't want to read, didn't that ring a bell? So, it just came up today, so I thought I'll share it. All right. So then the second part was about identification of students' needs and kind of support required. Then they also said that, all right, even if you identify children, or even if, okay, this child has, for instance, dyscalculia or this child has something else, then what are we supposed to do about it? And okay, this sometimes a special educator takes him or her out of the class, but what am I supposed to do as a teacher in the class? What can I do to make the child learn better? So those techniques were what they really, they had a lack of knowledge and understanding in. The similar related thing is differentiate instruction. They said that, in a class of 30 or 40, child may need some help. How do I cater to all the children together? Right? They said, okay, if I try to explain the same thing to a child, I may repeat it 3 or 4 times, but then what happens to the rest of the class? Then the rest of the class, their behavior becomes a challenge because then they get bored, right? So then automatically classroom management becomes a challenge. So these were all issues that were brought out in the research related to curriculum needs and personal attributes. So, straightforward, I would say. So, as you know, different boards have concessions and assessments which are provided to students based on their diagnosed difficulties. So teachers wanted to know what are these, from which class can we start giving them, and how do we mark the papers then, right? And things like subject-specific training. Now, a lot of teachers said that, most trainings are that happen are very generic, or they are mostly related to a particular, I'm a geography teacher, after a point that training is not relevant to me. So, I need training which is relevant to my subject, to the age group of children that I teach. Or I may learn about some fantastic techniques, but it's not applicable to, to apply in a class of, 17-year-olds, because they might find it very childish. So I want something which I can apply in my class as per the age group of children that I teach, as per the subject I teach. So that is what I've already mentioned. So there's, specific level of training. Now, coming to personal attributes. Now, this was something that we keep talking about, teacher attitudes and negative attitudes and all of that. So yes, teacher attitudes also came up in my research, but also what came up was that there needs to be a lot of sensitization towards the diverse needs of students. So teachers need to be sensitized, to be more caring, to be sensitive to the needs of the different students, or interpersonal skills, such as patience, communication, empathy. And again, especially because this was the age group where, the students also kind of challenge the teachers in different ways, right? So do you really have the maturity at that time to step back and, not take it personally, to not get into a war path with students? So a lot of teachers themselves said that it does happen. We lose our patience. The children test our patience, and, sometimes we get into this kind of take, which is obviously not good for the class environment, right? So this was something that not just the teachers themselves, but also the heads of schools, the counselors, and the, senior management also spoke about, right? Because, so I'm just going to share a few quotes from participants. I'm not going to read them. You can just have a look. This is about lack of skills and training. So this is verbatim, so don't go by the language, right? Whatever was said exactly. To the next one. This is again lack of skills and training. This is about curriculum related. And this is about the personal attributes. A lot of them have spoken about patience, tolerance, control on temper, right? In fact, at this point today, I'm just remembering all the examples because I've been having a lot of parent meetings this last month or so. And you won't believe it, but while going through the notebooks of a child, I refuse to check this work. It's very untidy. And then on another page, I see it says, how annoying, what annoying work, something like that. And it just was so jarring and, it was so upsetting. I said, how can a teacher write something like so annoying? It just shows her state of mind. So maybe when she was correcting that notebook or the child was not listening to her, it is just like a direct transference of her thoughts, her frustration on that paper. And of course, we spoke to that teacher and we counseled her, and she's written that, but I'm sorry, and it won't happen again. But it really happens, because I've worked in so many schools and I've seen this. It is so important for teachers to build a kind of rapport with children. Because to bring out the best, you have to employ different strategies with different children. And for that, you have to take a step back, not take anything personally, not take it as a reflection on your abilities, and try to prove that I'm the children. It doesn't work like that. You will get the best out of the children when you are yourself patient, when you are able to understand and support the child the way he or she needs that. And that cannot be the same for each child. Anyway, sorry, I just digressed a bit. Yeah. This is what the other stakeholders said, like principals and special ed. So in conclusion, well, this is what my research brought out. And as I said, a lot of legislation has happened in the last few years, which necessitates the training and preparation of teachers to adopt more inclusive approaches. And we know that, regular classroom teachers are the soul of inclusive education. If we do not understand their challenges, if we do not support them in ways that they need to achieve inclusion at all, whether it is India or in any part of the world for that matter. And therefore, I think, these findings of this research will be helpful not just to teacher educators, but also to managements, because a lot of other things which I haven't discussed here, because it's beyond the scope of this particular topic, were that they were so pressurized, there was so much, so much expectation to perform, and a lot of things where management can do something, to make it slightly, easier for them to give more time to the children who need it. Right? Teachers with the right attitudes, competencies, and trainings will impact the learning and achievement of all students. So I'm to the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing. I think it's more important to discuss this, and I had some. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Divya, for an interesting presentation, and raises a lot of interesting issues, I think, which we can discuss. Now, with all of this kind of research, it needs to be widely disseminated. I'm sure there are a lot of teachers in India and beyond India, in fact, who would be interested in reading about this research. So hopefully that's going to happen before too long.
Yeah.
Okay, if I could just start with a general observation first, which you might like to comment on. It seems to me that one of the things that was clear from your research is that many of the teachers themselves feel under quite a lot of pressure and stress. So that actually impacted on your research, the stresses the teachers are feeling.
I think it definitely impacts them a great deal, because simple things like even attending attending a workshop, that is also stressful, because at the back of their mind, they're thinking, I could have utilized this time for my correction. I have to make a report card. I have to make this list. I have to send this report. And they're constantly under some pressure or the others. And a lot of these are non-academic duties, a lot of other things that they're expected to do these days. I think teachers are expected to be superhumans and, superwomen and men, and just achievement has to be reduced. Somewhere that awareness needs to be brought in. And that is very important. We can't just keep expecting and not give in return. We have to understand them. And a lot of them had also mentioned that we also need counseling. Sometimes we also need support. We need to vent our frustration. So there should be avenues which are non-judgmental for us to go and speak about our difficulties and problems. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, an important thing that came through your research actually was the empathy which you demonstrated. As the more we can do that, the more reliable our data will be, if teachers feel that we respect them in this way. So well done for that. I'm opening up now for questions. If you'd like to raise your hand if you have a question, so I can bring you in individually. There must be questions, I'm quite sure. or observations as well? Don't be shy.
Richard, if I may. Kunal.
Yes, Malti, please.
Divya, is always lovely, lovely listening to you. I was just thinking about what you had said about the teacher's rapport with children being a very critical aspect. This is also something that came as a finding from my research study on social emotional learning, that when children have a rapport with the teacher, they are able to listen to what whatever she says. So somewhere I could see a connect between what you said and what the findings in my research study also revealed. Very interesting how things are connected.
Absolutely. It's all connected and, it impacts the child. In fact, I must share that the same child where the teacher had written very annoying work, because I was turning the pages, you won't believe the last flap of the page, of a notebook. Can you believe what the child had written? She had written, "I hate my teacher." I mean, I felt so impacted by that, this social emotional learning. No, Malti, it's like the teacher doesn't like the child, and obviously the child doesn't like the teacher. And how is this child going to progress like this? So it was very sad, and it was also very, I don't know, I'm not getting the right word right now, but it was really something that really impacted me and shook me. That it's very direct connect between the teacher and the child.
Yes, I'm sure if a teacher had written that on my book, I'd have had absolutely no incentive to have
That is
resented
the
it quite
motivation.
true.
Yes.
Yeah. Other questions, please?
I just had a question.
Yeah, thanks, Rashmi.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and there were a lot of similarities that I saw about the challenges that teachers face in private schools, but also in government schools. And you had some time and the space to also look at the school conditions or the teaching conditions, and how those might have had an impact on the way that the teachers had relationships with their students, particularly disabled students or students with additional needs, and things like were these low fee private schools or high fee private schools? Because my thought immediately goes to the school conditions, because teaching conditions are the learning conditions.
I get it. Thank you. Thanks for your question. So strangely, you might feel that no, these were not low-paying schools. These were one of the reputed schools with who were supposed to have the best kind of teachers and good infrastructure and all those facilities. Please say that teaching conditions were not suitable or things like that. Yeah. So.
Rashmi, is that as you would have anticipated, that response from these schools?
I would, for example, those high teacher pupil ratio, for example, 40 students. Yeah, that's a big class.
Yeah.
And obviously you couldn't expect. Yeah, you couldn't expect teachers to work. That was something that came out in the quote also that you shared. There are 40 minutes and there are 40 students. How do I, how do I work with that?
Right. And especially because also not just adolescent issues, I forgot to mention a very important point, that these in India, as you know, these are the board years. So they have the pressure of, preparing the children for the board exam. So say, where is the time for anything else? I'm just busy, pressure of completion of syllabus was a major factor that came up. So when that is there, then, so they can focus on the syllabus, things like that. Yeah.
Okay, we've got Dr. Miriam Toomey next, and then Dr. Salat Ajit, please. So Miriam, would you like to come in, please, from Ireland?
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Divya. Thank you, Malti. Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. I
Hi, thank you, Richard. Dr. Dubey, I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you. We have a lot of similar issues in Ireland. A number of the issues around teachers really do relate to the findings and have a lot in common with your findings. The curriculum challenges, the stresses that teachers are under, and I think what I really liked that came out clearly in your study was teachers' attitudes, and especially the soft skills that you've emphasized, such as empathy, interpersonal relationships. And on that, you had a beautiful quote relating to a counselor, encapsulates everything here regarding teachers and students, how much to give and how much to hold back. And sometimes it's about the professional self that we want to give so much, but we're wondering, do we hold back on the subject skills and the subject knowledge and the subject specialism? And is there a trade-off? So that brought the question up for me. Do you have a counselor on the staff, a particular role that a counselor might have? And does that only exist in certain schools? Sorry about the length of my question, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your question. And yes, there are a lot of similarities between research in other countries and in India. I'm aware of that. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, all of these schools had counselors, which were in-house counselors. There was just one school which had outsourced it to an external agency, so that person came, but all the other schools had in-house counselors who were there,
Okay.
on behavioral or other issues. So, and mental health issues and all of that. So they did have counselors. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We don't have that as a regular feature, and some of our legislation changed that as well. So yeah, I think it's a really important role.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Miriam. Sulata, would you like to come in? And then afterwards, I see we've got Pushpanjali and then Raj.
Congratulations, Divya. It was absolutely wonderful hearing. Of course, we have been in this together and partly together. So I've always wondered how you could manage this multi-locational study, and it amazed me always how you would, travel from one city to another. But kudos to your work, and congratulations face to face. I'm seeing you after you have become a doctor. So many similarities like everybody else, a lot of similarities in my studies as well, which I did share with all of you earlier, but on differentiated instructions, how they needed training, how they definitely the training inputs that the teachers require is absolutely what I think all of us need to work on. And who better than us probably to educate, that tightly brought out. I was just wondering if any of your teachers or the school had any peer interaction with special children, because why I'm asking this is we have recently started after the awareness week last year. We have a school, one of the reputed schools, who are sending in their children from IB schools to interact with children with special needs. And that has really made it. Any of your teachers brought out any of, I know the buddy system exists and, all that, but
yeah, the buddy system.
Yeah, but, visiting a special school and interacting and being in a special school, I think half the battle is won. The teachers, the feedback they gave me was they don't really have to go and speak about all the difficulties, and they are, they feel they're fortunate to be in this school, and their sensitivity, the children and teachers don't have to do all the, understanding, and of course they need to get trained, but did anybody, any of your teachers bring about any of these things?
Oh, yeah. So as I told you in one of the, in one of the questions, which was a part of theme 5 about inclusion in schools, one of the suggestions was that we should be allowed to visit other schools. One, inter-school interaction should be there to see what other, that was one. And they also said, in fact, two more things. So they also said we would like to be trained by experts from outside. Like, say, for example, a psychiatrist, if he comes and talks to us about, the mental health issues, that will be great. Or, if we can go to a special school where we can learn, so that would be great. They did bring this out that as a suggestion, that if there is more inter-school exchange, then that would help them to actually develop a lot of sensitivity in the teachers. So that came out. Yeah. But
Good.
as of now, it was.
Yeah, I was surprised that, they came up and we have had an entire 3 months of interaction, and the teachers have said our jobs have become easier now because the children have, accepted and learned to understand. They have interacted, they have done projects with our children in the space as a special school for others. So it's made a lot of difference. And, apart from teacher training, probably I was, thinking if we could look at that angle as well. Just a thought.
My ideal professional development program, that is actually a part of it. I mean, it should be a part of it, this visit to different schools.
Yes, of course, a management decision, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you, Divya. Wonderful listening to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Salata. Can we have
Okay.
Mercy next then, and then we'll have Rajni and then Annapurna. So Mercy, please.
Yep. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, perfectly clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dubey, for highlighting quite a few things. I think this is not probably covered in your research, or I'm not sure if you, because you did say that some things you have not shared with us on this call, right? So we do have a lot of teachers. I'm talking about the classroom teachers, who are not equipped actually to handle children with learning needs or disabilities or conditions.
Right.
And they do get this teacher burnout also, yeah. While working with the teachers here is, most of them are not motivated enough to foster learning because, what's in it for me is missing there sometimes, a lot of the times actually. And learning either stagnates or it does not happen for the students, and especially these special needs students who need that extra learning activities or that learning exposure to learn a simple concept sometimes, right? I know this, I don't know if this was covered in if you covered this in your what they would like as a stress buster to kind of.
Yes, they did say that. So they said two things. One was that they said we should also have access to counselors because we also get frustrated. And there should be avenues for us also to release our, our buildup of pressure and stress. So maybe we should be taken out more often, or we should have more, me time, more time basically, and less pressure was definitely something that they said.
Yeah, because our curriculum is, I'm so sorry. Go on. Sorry. You're talking about access to counselors and more of me time.
Yes. And before that, the thing that you mentioned, they did say that, see, again, this is about attitudes and lack of awareness, because there was a lot of this, I don't know, so, I can't do it, why me? So let them be taught by the special educator, because I don't know, I'm not equipped, I've not been trained. So that was also there. But then there were some teachers who did want to learn. So, all kinds, I can't really generalize that. So
I'm just trying to find out and see what's the best fit for these teachers to help them actually help the students, because of their attitude, even a child who's actually a regular, typically developed child will also actually suffer.
Right.
But
because
sorry.
A lot of them also took support from the section heads or their seniors or the special counselors in the school themselves. So if they didn't know how to do it, one of the major modes of their, going to was the in-house support of these people. So any help, we go to these people and they help us, tackle, not tackle, that's not the right word. They help us to, support this child in a better way. So they do
Right.
that often.
Yeah, because with the Indian curriculum, we do not have a lot of scope to,
Yeah.
either reduce, modify, or, accommodate certain things which even the teacher can't skip, because she will be questioned for it.
True. Curriculum inflexibility is a major factor, I feel. And they also
Absolutely.
said that at this level, it is too late for lack of appropriate intervention at the lower classes. That is why this child has come up with these difficulties. And now we are in this ICSE or CBSE curriculum, and the boards are
Right.
coming in the next few years. So what am I supposed to do? This should have been taken care of at a younger age. So this was a lot of this also came up, which I thought was very
Correct.
interesting because it never, I didn't think of it.
Yeah.
Like that.
Because a low achiever consistently becomes a low achiever as they keep going up the grades.
Exactly.
And then the teacher is left clueless, doesn't know how to address the issue and help. They climbed up that many rungs in the ladder.
True. Come up with this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your question.
May I ask? Richard, you're in mute, Richard.
Sorry, yeah. Thank you very much, Mercy, for your observations and questions there. It's very helpful. We'll have Rajni next, I think, then Annapurna, and then I see Pushpanjali's come back in as well. So Rajni, could we have your
Thank
question?
you. Thank you. Yes. I'll just start with this in continuation with what Mercy was pointing out. If we look at all the textbooks, whether it's Indian or other curriculums, they all follow the Bloom's taxonomy. It's about all children being able to answer some questions, many children being able to answer a few questions, and a few children being able to answer a few questions. And I think that's what most schools that want to be inclusive practice. They focus on the questions that all children can answer. It will be enough to make them comfortable in writing a board examination. I just wanted to share that because I've heard many schools practice that, and I've heard many children feel comfortable once the teachers start doing that as a policy. Divya, my question to you was, just like we have around 10 to 15% of children on special needs in any classroom, any population, any age, I strongly believe that when we take a cohort of teachers doing in their own way differentiated teaching, in their own way, they're trying to reach out to all learners, which I'm sure you'd have seen in the schools you saw also. So my question was, how was the sharing between these teachers and the teachers who felt that, oh my God, inclusive teaching is such a huge, such a tall order? Did you see any sharing happening? And did the school also think of any professional development, any school that you saw those lines between these two sets of teachers who believe that whatever may be the constraints, the resources, the times, the curriculum, I still can do something to reach out and make a child happy, right? Was there professional development between these two groups in terms of sharing challenges and in terms of knowledge sharing and strategy sharing?
I'm not very sure I've understood your question, but I'm just going to answer it anyway, and then you can let me know. So, programs, but there was no school which had a program which was, aligned towards inclusive education, which was made or designed in such a way, that was geared towards inclusion. It was more like whatever was available was done. If they found a good resource, maybe somebody, they got a good resource person on classroom management, maybe they would have that session. Or if they got a good resource person for maths, they would have a maths workshop. There was nothing which was a comprehensive plan which was geared towards inclusion. Of course, teachers mentioned that, I try to do this, I also do this. So there were those kind of sharings as well. But some said, no, but I don't get the time. Where is the free period? I have substitution. Things like that. There was a mix, of course, but very few of those voices, I would say. Maybe that is how it got captured. But yeah, there were cases of teachers who mentioned that they tried to do differentiated instruction maybe without knowing that that is what it was called. So it's not that it's not happening. Probably they don't know that, that's what they are doing.
Okay.
Thank you, Divya, and thank you, Rajni. Could we have Annapurna come in now then, please? And afterwards we'll have Pushpanjali, and then I think that'll be all we have time for, really. So Annapurna, could you come in with your question, please?
Thank you, Dr. Dubey. I really resonated with how you brought in an angle of empathy and how you humanized the teachers, and you just brought to light all the different realities that they face in their daily practice. My question, when you were engaging with these educators, doing focus groups and interviews, and you were discussing matters of professional development, inclusive practices, what was the general reaction to your questions? Was there a bit of defensiveness? Were they willing to engage? How did you sort of navigate that?
Thank you for your question, Annapurna. Very valid one. So, see, before I began, start that I'm not here, the purpose of my research. So letting them know that I'm here to understand your perspective, not to demonize you or not to, pick out faults in your, as teachers. But I just had to explain the entire process and what I'm hoping to achieve out of this research. And therefore I requested for their candid thing. And because there was no, there was no senior involved from their school, or it was just like a random, selection of teachers that was sent to me, I just requested that there be a mix of different and all of that. So I think they were fairly comfortable. I did not, in fact, one started and they had a lot to share.
Yes.
In fact, it was like there was a lot of things that were pent up, and then they just got an opportunity. So that is what I felt in most of the schools, and we just wanted to share a lot. So of course, there was a lot of irrelevant talk also that happened, but I had to keep getting them back to, the purpose of my research and the questions. So, but I had very cooperative teachers. I think I'm thankful to that. Yeah, for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Panjali, please.
Actually, I wanted to thank ma'am, and I just wanted to tell her that I relate to each and every word that she has told in the presentation, and empathize, and I empathize. And see, teacher-student ratio is one important thing. Why I can say is that I have the experience of teaching in all the three levels. Like I was special school and then an inclusive school also. So I relate with every word what madam had told. And in an inclusive setup is also very important. Child with hearing impairment, then with visual impairment, and then learning disability, and then without any disability, and then gifted students also we have in one classroom. So that's a big challenge. And ma'am was speaking about the rapport that one has to build with the child or the student. Once a rapport is built, that stays long. And when we talk of counselors, they are also very overburdened in schools. So that hampers. If you speak of curriculum, I always speak about the maxims of teaching, which is simple to complex. That is a simple thing that we can adopt. And one more thing, I right now I'm a director in CRC Sikkim, and we have undergone orientation to disability for general educators. And we covered around 300 teachers and do more. So more and more orientation is required for the general teachers, and not only orientation, and learning disability is what they need the most. That is it. Thank you so much for the presentation, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your observations and your views. And, teacher training is one of my passion now, and I really want to continue with it beyond my research. So I'm happy to collaborate, and if my help is required in any way, I would be happy to do that. Thank you.
A question, and to everybody who's asked questions and made observations this afternoon. I think this kind of engagement is really important. And I suspect there are some of you who haven't asked questions who may have, well, wanted to in some way, but maybe didn't have the confidence. And I'm sure Divya would be very happy to engage with you through email or some other media if you're comfortable with that. Okay, so thank you. And thank you very much, Divya. That was an excellent presentation. Very pleased with the work that you did, I think, in India, and we look forward to reading the papers that will follow. I'm going to introduce Rashmi to you now, because Rashmi gave an excellent presentation a few months back, and has started an initiative which she's going to do through IIRN with the support of the people who are organising these forums. And she wants to run at distance online. In fact, Rashmi isn't in India herself, so she's there. I believe you're sitting in Switzerland today.
Yes.
Yes, in Switzerland still today. So she's put together a very comprehensive proposal, which some of us, Dr. Janti Narayan, and I know Dr. Himanshu and Rajesh and I have read, and we want to be as supportive as we can of this initiative. So I'm going to hand over to explain things, and then if anybody's got some questions while you're here.
Thank you, Richard. I'm just going to share my screen because I have a little presentation prepared. I won't take too much time, so it'll be done quickly. So basically, I thought of setting up a writing group because I myself had been a part of a writing group when I was doing my PhD, and it tremendously helped me. And I realized that there are not a lot of spaces like this that writers or researchers. And so I thought maybe we could try and start something under the banner of IIRN. And so I just wanted to give you a little overview of what do we mean by writing groups. So they're collaborative learning spaces in which different academic writers develop their writing skills and provide collegial support to each other. And basically, group members engage in providing constructive feedback with the help of a group facilitator. And I'm hoping, oh, sorry. So why are writing groups important? It's because in academia, building one's publication profile is very important in order to obtain grants, to get promotion and tenure, and also to disseminate and communicate about one's research. But I also realize that there are several barriers to academic writing, and these can be different for different contexts and for different people. But mostly absence of training, professional isolation, competing priorities, so not able to give time to writing, changes in academic literacy practices as well, and lack of motivation, as well as fear of rejection, and also inaccessibility of learning spaces where you can actually develop skills for academic writing. And so what are the benefits of joining a writing group? I think the literature, research sort of tells us that there are three main benefits, and they're interrelated to each other. Members of writing groups have experienced increased motivation, confidence, experiencing pleasure in writing, and developing their personal and academic identities. And they've also seen professional benefits in terms of improved writing skills and teamwork and development of professional relationships. And organizational benefits, of course, which is increased generation of peer-reviewed publications, completion of doctoral degrees, and increased research outputs. So what is the I'd like to start off with a small group of maximum 10 members, and membership will be based on people's expression of interest and commitment to participate in fortnightly and monthly 2-hour meetings. Meetings and discussions will be moderated by me as a facilitator, and members should be willing to share their writing projects and be open to receiving and also giving constructive feedback. And of course, membership priority will be given to postgraduate research students, and others are very much welcome. And what would the writing group activities be? There are three main activities that I'm proposing. One is, of course, regular reviewing and feedback within the group, and also talks and presentations by guest presenters on topics related to academic writing, and also workshops and writing exercises, as how to write abstracts and structure of a PhD, or how to do literature review, or how to select journals, different kinds of work. Will of course be certain rules of engagement in order to ensure that every member's well-being is considered within the group. So there are certain rules of engagement, for example, that each member themselves decides a kind of feedback that they solicit, that they want from the group. The idea is to focus on the strengths and then help writers understand how they can improve their work. I would also encourage postgraduate researchers to inform their supervisorship in the group so that there isn't confusion between the roles, and also ensuring respect to each other. And each group member will, of course, be given the opportunity to provide and present their feedback. And group members will also be asked to engage in 6-monthly writing group evaluation to reflect on their experiences, celebrate their successes, and also seek solutions for the shortcomings that may exist in the writing group process. And something that Professor, I think it's also something that's interesting is about being a part of the writing group and also having an opportunity to present at the IIRN conference in September this year about their experience of being in a writing group. And I just wanted to share a little experience of mine that when I was a part of the writing group, we actually ended up publishing book chapters on our experiences as writing group members, and research studies based on, and we used autoethnographic methods to do that. Good opportunity for the writing group members to possibly also see a benefit in that you could maybe even publish your experience of being a part of the writing group. So the first meeting date and time that, because I'm doing this on a voluntary basis, is Thursday on 7th March, and the timing is from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Central European time, the time zone where I am. And in Indian time, it would be between 5:30 p.m. and 7. Of course, the first meeting I set up using a Zoom meeting, and here's the link and the meeting ID and the passcode. But please don't worry, I will also just put in a PDF document on the chat box so that you also have access to all this information that I have shared with you. In order to be a part of the writing group, I'd request you to please sign up by filling a Google form by the 4th of March so that I know exactly who wants to be a part of this. The selection will, of course, be on a first come first serve basis, because we will start with a small group and see how that goes, and then maybe expanded if the need arises. So thank you very much. If you have any questions about the writing group, you can. I'm here to respond to any questions.
Thank you very much, Rashmi. As you can see, Rashmi's put a lot of thoughts and effort into this. So I hope if we had a discussion about numbers, and I think, you know, the idea of restricting it initially to 10 is sensible, because these 10 people in a way will be pioneers for the IIRN writing group, and we'll see how it all works out. But that doesn't preclude running further writing groups for anybody who doesn't get into this first group. So please don't feel that, you know, limited it to 10 means that you might not have an opportunity presentation. Can I just check first of all, Rajesh, this presentation, you always send out the speaker's presentation, so I know you'll be sending out Divya's presentation. Can you also send out Rashmi's when you contact everybody after this meeting, please?
I've actually prepared a PDF document with more information and the Google form and other information and the Zoom link and everything. And I've just put that in the chat box, but I will also send it to Dr. Rajesh, and he can share it with whoever's not here.
Good. Thank you very much. I think this is an important initiative. Anybody immediately have a question for Rashmi? Anything important?
Dr. Rashmi, I have already shared your PDF document in the WhatsApp group.
Oh, great. Perfect.
Thank you very much, Rajesh. Any questions or observations?
I just like to say that I would like to help in this wonderful initiative of yours, Rashmi. So let me know if there's some way that I can, help in.
Absolutely. I think it'll be very nice to have you there as well, to support group members, and also maybe even do some presentations if you want on your experience of academic writing and what has helped you.
Sure, I'll do that. So I'll also join in then and be there. Thank you.
Dr. Rashmi and Professor Nikhil, shall I send this document to Dr. Dan? She was asking, she was interested in joining this writing group.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dan Chambers. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll send it.
I'm not sure where Diane is now. She was in Australia, but I don't think she is anymore. So we've got two hands up. Mercy, are you wanting to ask a question, or is your hand up?
No. I'm sorry, Richard. I forgot to drop my hand. Sorry.
Okay. So Sai Swarupa, your hand is up.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Hello. Did you have a question?
Hello. Yeah, am I audible, sir?
Yeah, yes, perfectly. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask that presently I'm just I'm in the stage of data analysis as part of my PhD work. So I just want to know how best I can just join in this writing group. How it would be, like any additional project work is given, or then I can just join as part of this to enhance the skills, sir.
So then, but for example, like how you said that you're working on your thesis and you're probably now also drafting your chapters and you're working on your analysis. Those are some things that you can share with the writing group, and we help provide you constructive feedback. And then you can work on that feedback to incorporate it in your thesis. If you want to, or if you're working on, I don't know, maybe a journal article publication, you can also share that. Maybe you're also applying for certain conferences to abstract, you can also share that. So the idea is not to give anybody extra work, but the idea is for everybody to come with their existing work or the projects that they already work on, to come and share that and to seek and receive feedback on that.
Okay, then sure. Then I would like to join, because it will really enrich the thing. Na? So you will share a knowledge, then the feedback is very important.
Yeah. Absolutely. You sign up, so I'll have your details. And
good. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rashmi, for all the work you've done on this. I'm sure it's going to be a great success. And as you know, if you need any support from any of us, you can ask, and we'll do our best to be supportive as we can. Okay, I think we're coming to the end of today's session. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining today and for your participation. Out there sitting thinking, I would really like to present my research. You will have seen it's a very friendly forum. So please do have the confidence to come and join us and give a presentation. If you let Rajesh know, I'm sure we can fit it into the timetable. So thank you for that. And just to remind you that there will be the conference in September, and further details will be sent out over the next couple of weeks. So thank you to all of you for your attendance today. today, or should we close?
Thank you so much. So we are about to close. I would like to put on records the support by the Indian Academy of Cerebral Palsy, particularly Dr. Mallikarjun sir, who has been giving this platform, and he'll be continuing to give us this platform, and very grateful to sir and the entire Indian Academy of Cerebral Palsy. A very thanks to from all the members of IIRN. And members, I think next month we'll be meeting most probably on 29th of March. This is for Miriam, Professor Miriam, 29th March, Indian Standard Time. If Professor Miriam is willing to present, then definitely I'll contact Professor Miriam. So thank you so much. Bye-bye. Good night.
Okay,
Sorry, the
thank you
Google
all very
form.
much. Okay, bye.
The Google form, Dr. Rashmi has shared in the PDF, and it's there. Even the, I think the link also is there, and it is there in IIRN WhatsApp group. Please check it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Namaskar.
you.
Good night. Good night.
Sir Mallikarjun sir, we can close it now.
Yeah, you end the meeting, Rajesh.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.